My loving husband, when I was 9 months pregnant and on the verge of delivery, secretly applied to the hospital to become a battlefield doctor behind my back. Fearing for his safety, I refused to let him take the risk and used our unborn child to pressure him into staying. Little did I know, our baby was stolen right after birth, and I was murdered while searching for our child. Only after death did I discover it was all my husband's doing. He resented me because I stopped him from becoming a battlefield doctor, making him miss his first love's final moments. He had our bodies, mine and our child's, thrown into the water. With venom in his voice, he spat, "If you're so fond of using death as a threat, then go die with your child." I died with grievances, only to open my eyes and find myself back at the moment I tried to stop him. This time, I'll let him have his way. Just watch him dig his own grave. Lu Shuiqing, that's enough. What else can you do besides using our child to threaten me? Have I spoiled you rotten? Hearing Song Shochi's furious voice, I froze instantly. Hatred seeped from the depths of my heart, spreading through every inch of my skin. Only when a faint pain twinged in my belly did I realize this wasn't an illusion. I gingerly raised my hand and touched my stomach, confirming the baby in my womb was still healthy and thriving. Then an unbelievable, audacious thought struck me. Had I been reborn? Before I could ponder further, Song Shochi snapped me back to reality. The northern frontier desperately needs doctors. While our soldiers defend the homeland, we medical professionals must also do our part. 1. I'm serving our country. If you can't support me, fine, but using our child as leverage, that's low. Lu Shuiqing, when did you become so selfish? Hearing his sanctimonious words now, all I feel is bitter irony. My state of mind is completely different from my previous life. In my past life, when I learned Song Shochi had secretly applied to be a battlefield doctor in the northern frontier, I was furious, angry at his deception, angry he didn't consult me, but more than anything, I couldn't understand his decision, and feared for his safety. I'm 9 months pregnant, the baby could come any day now. Why did he have to request deployment at this exact moment, after our huge fight? I tried to talk things through with him. I begged him. Can't this wait until after the baby's born? I figured I'd buy some time. Maybe he was just acting on impulse, and things would blow over soon enough. But what I never expected was this. Song Shochi, who'd always been reasonable with me, refused to budge this time. In the end, I had to threaten him with our unborn child to make him stay. Little did I know. From that day on he started swapping shifts with colleagues and never came home at night, even on the day I gave birth. Shochi-san never showed up. To say I wasn't heartbroken would be a lie, but I just couldn't understand why. Did we really go from revolutionary comrades to complete strangers just because I stood in his way? That very night the child was born, he vanished without a trace. I was murdered while following leads to find our child. Only then did I realize all of this was Song Shochi's doing. That's when I understood why he'd volunteered to transfer as a battlefield medic to the northern frontier. His willingness to serve the nation wasn't born of selfless devotion. He stayed only in hopes of reuniting with Jiangyu, his first love, but I stood in his way. Though Song Shochi remained as I wished, Jiangyu was captured during a rescue mission and brutally dismembered by enemy forces. He blamed me for denying him a final meeting with Jiangyu, and that resentment festered in his heart, so he had my child kidnapped, then orchestrated my murder. After death, I became a wandering spirit haunting Song Shochi's every step. I watched helplessly as he coldly ordered our corpses, mine and my child's, to be dumped into that stinking lake. Then with venom in her voice, she spat at the still lake surface. If you're so fond of using death as a threat, then go die with your child. If not for you, I'd be in the northern frontier right now. I would never have let anything happen to Xiaoyu. You killed Xiaoyu. Now you can join her in hell. Those words made me tremble with rage. I wanted to strangle him. I wanted to kill him. I wanted revenge for my newborn child, but in reality, I couldn't even lay a finger on him. I could only obsess over it in madness. Little did I know fate would grant me rebirth, sending me back to the very moment when everything started going wrong. In that case, this time I'll give him exactly what he wants. Let's see how he digs his own grave, probably because I kept them waiting without saying a word. Song Shochi's tone grew increasingly impatient. Lu Shuiqing, I'm asking you one last time, are you really using our child to threaten me? Snapping out of my memories, I finally noticed the icy chill that had crept into his expression as he spoke. It was clear now, he was delivering his final ultimatum. The moment I nod, he'll treat me just like he did in our past life. So I spoke up. You're right. Wanting to serve your country is noble. I should support that. I take back what I just said. Only after speaking did Song Shochi seem to realize what I'd said. His expression instantly shifted from impatience to shock, but within mere seconds, his satisfied demeanor returned. Song Shochi showed no intention of questioning why I'd changed my mind. He just condescendingly remarked, "At least you got some sense." Couldn't wait to start packing his bags. As he swung the door open, a sudden thought flashed through my mind. I urgently called out his name, Song Shochi. He stopped in his tracks and turned to face me. His expression reverted to that same impatient look. Before I could speak, he said mockingly, "Surely you're not going back on your word already, Lux Weeking. Let me make this clear. Your little game of playing hard to get won't work on me. Even if you keep using our child as leverage, I won't change my mind," even though she'd already lost faith in him. Hearing those words still sent a chill through her heart. "Before you leave, make sure to say a proper goodbye to your parents." Song Shochi didn't seem to have considered this matter. He frowned slightly and said curtly, "No need." I opened my mouth. The words of persuasion still stuck in my throat. Yet again, Song Shochi misunderstood my intention. "If I find out you deliberately tattled to mom and dad, I'll never forgive you." So he thought I was trying to use our parents' authority against him. I let out a bitter, exasperated laugh. If it weren't for the baby in my womb, I'd have slapped him already. I gently touched my pregnant belly, reminding myself to stay calm. After taking a moment to compose myself, I spoke to him earnestly. "Shochi, you know I'll always support whatever decision you make, but mom and dad are getting older. Normally we wouldn't trouble them with such matters. Yet you know how dangerous war can be, if something were to actually happen." With that, I lowered my head and pretended to wipe away tears, leaving the rest unspoken. Thinking back to my past life, I kept this matter hidden from both sets of parents from start to finish, not wanting to worry them. Even when my emotions were unstable and the pregnancy showed signs of complications, the delivery was even more perilous. I hemorrhaged badly and nearly didn't make it. Yet I never shared any of this with them. Who could have imagined Song Shochi would slander me after my death, claiming I'd run off with another man and our child? My parents were so devastated by this that their hair turned noticeably grayer, but their greatest pain was the lingering worry about me. After all, I'm their only daughter. Even when I left that world, my parents never stopped searching for me, so in this life, I must expose Song Shochi's true nature to them. But what I never expected was when I finally looked up, to my surprise, I saw genuine remorse on Song Shochi's face. Just as I was feeling utterly perplexed, he returned to stand before me, gripping my shoulders. He said, "Shiwaching, I was wrong about you. Don't worry, it's just a month. I'll definitely make it back before the baby arrives." Hearing this, I froze for 2 seconds. My first reaction was sheer disbelief. I mocked his naivety. Surviving that place would be a miracle, let alone making it back. I had no idea where he got the confidence to say something like that, but I quickly caught the underlying meaning in his words. Is Song Shochi planning to bring Jiangyu back? I frowned, sensing this was highly probable. Fortunately, Song Shochi promised to proactively inform both sets of parents about this matter. My goal was accomplished, so I didn't dwell on it further. After Song Shochi left, I headed to the hospital as well. By the time I got back, I'd already had a huge fight with Song Shochi, though I managed to calm myself down. Getting checked out seemed like the safer bet, too. Of course, what I wanted wasn't just an examination. I needed to be hospitalized. That way, when both sets of parents arrived, I wouldn't have to deal with all the chaos. The examination did show some signs of an unstable pregnancy. Besides, in these times, few could afford hospital care, so admission was easily arranged. To my complete surprise, I stumbled upon a huge shock at the hospital. I hadn't told Song Shochi about my hospital visit. He probably never expected me to show up at the hospital right then, so he ended up discussing the topic with others completely off guard. I heard the man ask him, "Are you absolutely sure? It's so dangerous over there. Is seeing Jiangyu really worth risking your life for?" After a brief 2-second pause, Shochi-san replied calmly, "Back when my mother objected to my marriage with Xiaoyu, she got so upset that she requested a transfer. I haven't heard from her in all these years. Now that she's finally written to me after all this time, I know I must see her again, no matter what." I stood frozen in place, unable to snap out of my daze for the longest time. So all these years of marriage, he never stopped searching for Jiangyu. This realization made me feel like a complete fool. If you couldn't forget her, why the hell did you marry me? My bloodshot eyes were fixed on the two figures in the distance. Then I heard the man ask, "What about Shiwaching? Her baby's due any day now." How can you just walk away? Song Shochi remained silent, but the answer was already clear in my heart. When I came to my senses, the two had already slipped away unnoticed. Just as I was about to turn away, something on the ground caught my eye. I walked over and bent down to pick it up. Upon opening it, I realized this must be the letter Jianyu had sent. In the letter, Jianyu mentioned she was about to become a battlefield medic. I'm writing this letter knowing dangers lie ahead. This letter was his farewell to her. She wished him a good life, hoping they might meet again in another lifetime. Though she said nothing, he understood her unspoken words. I can't wait to see her. With a self-deprecating smile, I tucked the letter away and retreated to my room. Both sets of parents arrived swiftly, clearly having already received the news, but seeing them head straight to the hospital told me they must have missed Song Shochi at home. I vaguely remember hearing someone say that Song Shochi had bought a ticket for 3 days later, and that 3-day mark just happens to be today. The moment my parents walked in, their faces were filled with heartache, but before they could say anything, Mr. and Mrs. Song cut in with urgent questions. Where's Shochi? Don't tell me he's already left. Shuiching. Honestly, as his wife, couldn't you have stopped him? You're utterly useless. I stared at my mother-in-law, a cold glint flashing through my eyes. Come to think of it, in my past life when Song Shochi framed me, she was the one who lashed out the most viciously. She even dragged my mother into her tirade. My relationship with Song Shochi's parents isn't terrible, but it's far from great either. Let's just say we maintain minimal contact in daily life. But that phrase of hers, utterly useless, I've heard it more times than I can count. Every time I failed to keep Song Shochi in line, she'd hurl that insult at me. I used to naively believe she had my best interests at heart, though her approach was overly domineering. That was until I learned about Jianyu's existence. Only then did I realize she wasn't actually that pleased with me either. I was merely a fallback option, a compromise to keep Song Shochi in check. Now that she realizes I can't control Song Shochi, of course she's displeased. I curled my lips in a mocking smile, but before I could speak, my mother couldn't help defending me. Qingqing's just a pregnant woman. How do you expect her to handle this? She's literally been driven to the hospital with anger. How's she supposed to control him? He goes wherever he pleases. My father added disapprovingly, a grown man with children, yet still acting so irresponsible. Mrs. Song, knowing she was in the wrong, fell silent. After asking for Song Shochi's office location, I left with his father. The hospital room suddenly held just the three of us, our little family. Under their concerned questioning, I finally came clean and told them I wanted a divorce. Thankfully, they chose to believe in me and offer their support. Little did I expect that, just as we finished discussing this, Song Shochi stormed in with fury written all over his face, completely ignoring my mother. He confronted me. No wonder you suddenly became so understanding. You were just trying to get our parents to speak for you. Lu Shuiching, I'm telling you, I'm leaving today, and nothing's going to change that. Stop deluding yourself. I let out a cold laugh, seizing the moment while he was still fuming. Giving up on reasoning with him, I said bluntly, fine, if that's how you want it. Choose between divorce or a transfer to northern Xinjiang. The words hung in the air, plunging the hospital room into complete silence. My mother only froze for a second before snapping back to reality. Song Shochi, however, stood rooted to the spot, staring at me in disbelief. What did you just say? I threw the letter away. With flushed excitement, she demanded, did you think I wouldn't know? All your noble talk was just an excuse to see Jiangyu. Song Shochi clearly hadn't anticipated I'd find out about this. Furious, he accused me. Lu Shuiching, how dare you steal from me? I scoffed, not even bothering to argue with him. I urged impatiently, choose, I'd assumed Song Shochi would agree without hesitation. To my surprise, I actually saw hesitation flicker across his face. I felt both bewildered and absurdly amused. In his past life, he was utterly ruthless toward me and our child, all for Jiangyu, who was already dead. If he could stoop to that, divorce would be child's play for him. I can't fathom why he'd refuse. To prevent him from changing his mind, I decided to provoke him again, so I deliberately said, if you still care about this marriage, stay and we'll pretend nothing ever happened. I'm carrying your child, how could you possibly walk away? People like Shochi Song who've been threatened before now despise nothing more than being controlled. The more I said it, the more it disgusted him. He'd make a different choice almost as if to prove a point. Sure enough, the moment those words left my mouth, Song Shochi snapped immediately. Lu Shuiching, stop daydreaming, let me make this clear, no one changes my mind. No one, he practically roared these words. In response, I just let out a scornful laugh, completely unsurprised. He pressed on, if you want a divorce, let's go right now. Song Shochi's face twisted into an ugly grimace. 3. But with things having gone this far, even if he hated the idea, he had no choice but to barrel ahead. Fine, let's go now, Lu Shuiqing, you'll regret this. I let out a laugh and immediately retorted, that's my line. Oh, and since you're the one who wronged me and our child, the house stays with us, and I want half the money. To my surprise, Song Shochi agreed without hesitation this time. He didn't even object when I suggested drafting a written agreement on the spot. Seeing how agreeable he was, my expression softened a bit. Understandingly, I said, in that case, let's head to the hospital now so you won't miss your ride. Don't worry, after you leave, I'll definitely have a word with your parents. The corners of my lips curled as I guessed how Song Shochi had managed to send his parents away before coming to settle scores with me. The look on his face confirmed my suspicion. But none of this concerns us. The civil affairs officer kept eyeing my pregnant belly and wouldn't stop giving me advice. Seeing neither of us would budge, they reluctantly processed it for us in the end. I held the paper in my hand with quiet satisfaction. My budding smile froze the instant his words registered. Gazing at me with tender affection, he said softly, Shuiqing, I know I've wronged you in this matter, so whatever unreasonable demand you make now, I'll agree to it. Then he gave a long, meaningful look at my belly. Take good care of yourself and the baby, he said. We'll talk about the rest when I get back. I stared at his retreating figure in utter confusion. It took me a good while to finally catch on. Turned out he agreed so readily because he thought I was just being difficult. I let out a dry laugh, mentally cursing him as a lunatic. All I can say is, what an idiot he is. Regardless, the divorce certificate is genuine, and the written agreement is legally binding. Even if he does come back, it won't change a thing, and so. Just as I returned to the hospital, Song Shochi must have already boarded the train to the northern frontier. By the time Mr. and Mrs. Song realized they'd been deceived, Song Shochi had already left. They could only vent their merciless rage on me. Lu Shuiqing, you're his wife. How could you not stop him, Mrs. Song demanded sharply. Sensing my mother was about to stand up and speak, I quickly pulled her back. I had no intention of bringing up the divorce right now. I knew exactly how difficult Mrs. Song could be. Telling her now would only invite trouble. I finally managed to send Song Shochi away. The most important task now is to rest well and wait for delivery. I have no intention of wasting another minute on someone like Madame Song. I feigned displeasure and said, that's exactly why I had a huge fight with him and ended up in the hospital. I'm carrying his child. What exactly am I supposed to do? I thought you coming over might talk some sense into him, but it was useless after all. Probably because they remember this baby in my belly is still a Song family heir. For once, Mother Song was left speechless by me. After a long pause, she finally managed to choke out a sentence, but you can't just stand there watching him leave. Do you have any idea how dangerous that place is? If anything happens to him, what are his father and I supposed to do? Shochi was the only son of the Song family. She was absolutely frantic with worry. But the die was cast now. No amount of fretting would change a thing. My gaze turned icy as I said coolly, that was his choice to make, alive or dead. He'll face the consequences of his own decisions. Mother Song seemed stunned for a moment, clearly not expecting me to say such things. Her fingers trembled as she pointed at me. Lu Shuiqing, that's your husband. How could you be so heartless? And yet my husband abandoned both me and our child for his so-called first love. Tell me, whose cruelty runs deeper, my words or his actions? After realizing someone was eavesdropping outside the ward, I deliberately raised my voice. It'd be best if Song Shochi never gets another chance to return, otherwise, I'll show him how vicious gossip can truly be. By bringing up Song Shochi's first love, I instantly redirected his mother's resentment. I knew that wretched girl was trouble. After all these years gone, she's still ruining my son's life. No way, I must find a way to get Shochi back. With that, Madame Song stormed out of the hospital room, still cursing under her breath. My mother and I exchanged glances, both visibly relieved. When my father returned with the food, our family of 3 gathered for a meal and had a long conversation. Since it was hard for my dad to take time off work, he bought a return ticket the very next day. My mother, however, stayed behind to look after me. Now that I'm divorced, I obviously can't count on my ex-mother-in-law's support anymore. Having my mom here puts my mind at ease. Half a month later, Just like in my previous life, I successfully gave birth to a son. The difference was, in my past life, my son was pitifully tiny at birth. The doctors warned he might be frail and would need extra care, but in this life, the doctor's words became your child is perfectly healthy. Hearing those words, I nearly broke down in tears. Not only was the baby thriving, but under my mother's devoted care, my own body no longer ached like it had in the previous life. Yet what I never anticipated was, just as I was feeling overjoyed, news came through about Song Shochi. Don't know what trick Mrs. Song used, but she actually managed to bring him back, though he wasn't alone. His first love Jianyu came with him. Hearing this news, I instinctively frowned. I had considered the possibility of Song Shochi returning, but never expected it to happen this soon. I'd just given birth recently and hadn't fully recovered physically yet. The last thing I wanted was to confront Song Shochi at this moment. Before I could even start worrying about that, another piece of news reached me. Song Shochi did come back, but he returned wounded. My mother came back with the news that Song Shochi had both legs severed while saving Jianyu. Now he's a cripple. My mother couldn't help but sigh heavily after saying this. Sighing, she said, "To be honest, when you first mentioned divorce, I agreed but still had some reservations in my heart. Now it seems he's getting his just desserts." Actually, it wasn't just my mom saying this, everyone at the hospital was talking about it. I've accidentally overheard quite a bit myself. They say Song Shochi comes from a good family and has a stable career. Not only did he have a beautiful wife, but now he's even blessed with an adorable son. By all accounts, he should have been perfectly content, yet he threw it all away for his first love, abandoning his wife only to end up in this miserable state. What else could this be if not karma? So when Song Shochi was just brought to the hospital, he overheard these very comments. Rumor has it he fainted from rage on the spot. When I heard the news, I couldn't help but chuckle. Song Shochi is the kind of man who cares deeply about saving face. Now he's not only disabled but also became a public laughingstock. I bet he wishes he were dead, but none of this concerns me anymore. We're divorced after all. That's why I never had the slightest intention of visiting him. Mom actually enjoyed watching his antics, and couldn't wait to share the details with me back in the ward. With this light-hearted mood, I was finally cleared for discharge. But on the very day of my discharge, Mrs. Song showed up at my hospital room. The moment she stepped in, a torrent of accusations came raining down on me. "Lu Xiuqing, what kind of wife are you? Shochi's been back for days, and you couldn't even bother to check on him, let alone take care of him. Look around, what decent daughter-in-law acts this spoiled, checking into the hospital and refusing to leave." She finished her tirade without giving me a chance to speak. With impatience in her voice, she said, "Enough. Hurry up and take the baby to show Shochi. He's been in a foul mood these days. Maybe seeing the child will cheer him up." As she spoke, Mrs. Song reached out to take my baby. I took a step back and handed the child to my mother instead. With a smile, she said, "The child tends to cry, and we don't want to irritate Song Shochi further. I'll go check on him." After speaking, I subtly signaled my mother to leave first. During the divorce, the custody agreement clearly stated the child would remain with me. I wouldn't want to taint the child's innocence. As for me, I certainly must go see Song Shochi. Not that I'm obeying Madame Song, but that bastard ruined me so thoroughly in our past life. This time around, I simply must witness his downfall. Madame Song appeared somewhat displeased, but ultimately held her tongue, perhaps conceding to my reasoning. Little did I expect that when I arrived at Shochi Song's hospital room, his first words would be, "Where's the child?" Under the strange gazes of those around me, I froze for 2 seconds before remembering the gossip my mother had told me. Who knows where she heard it from? Song Shochi isn't just crippled in the legs, his manhood is gone too. Barring any miracles, he's likely to leave no descendants. I initially dismissed it as exaggerated rumors. Now it appears to be the bitter truth. No wonder his first words when I walked in were about the child. This realization made me break into a smile. I never expected Song Shochi to be this perceptive. A single expression from me triggered his anger, and he snapped at me. "Lu Xiuqing, what do you think you're doing?" Seeing him struggling to get up, Mother Song hurried over to calm him down. "Shochi, calm down, stay calm, you can see the child whenever you want. Besides, Xiuqing came here to take care of you, bringing the baby along would be inconvenient." Under her soothing words, Song Shochi gradually calmed down. Mother Song continued, "Xiuqing is your wife, how could she ever look down on you?" Then she turned to me and asked, "Right, Mother Song was even trying to signal me with her eyes. Alas, she was doomed to be disappointed. I simply smiled faintly and shook my head. No, first, I heard his leg injury was Jianyu's fault. Let her take care of him then. But I knew exactly what Mrs. Song was about to say next, so I cut her off mid-sentence, raising my voice. Secondly, did Shochi Song fail to mention I'm no longer his wife, the moment those words left my mouth? The hospital room fell dead silent. I deliberately kept this under wraps just for this moment. Seeing the shock on Mrs. Song and Song Shochi's faces gave me nothing but pure satisfaction. But what really baffled me was this: while it made sense for Mrs. Song to be unaware, why on earth did Song Shochi, the person directly involved, look just as stunned? Seems he's forgotten about this matter. Mother Song froze for a long moment before shouting, I won't allow it, I forbid you to divorce. I smirked at her hysterical display, utterly ridiculous, the decision's already made, her consent means nothing. Mother Song refused to accept or believe this was happening. Clutching Shochi's arm, she pleaded, tell me it's not true, son. His silence made her feel like her world was collapsing. Then she turned on me, calling me ungrateful and demanding I reconcile with Shochi immediately. Her words were getting increasingly vicious. I frowned and cut her off. Let me make one thing crystal clear. It was Song Shochi who insisted on divorcing me for his first love, even abandoning our child. This time, Mother Song didn't argue back, and Song Shochi started speaking instead. No matter what, I'll always be the father. A divorce changes nothing. The more Song Shochi spoke, the more confident his expression became, as if this alone could win him custody of the child. Hearing this, Mother Song visibly relaxed. 5. Shochi's right, divorced couples can always reconcile. You wouldn't want your child growing up without a father, would you? If they think that line would work on me, they're being incredibly naive. I'd rather my son have no father at all than be stuck with such a despicable one. I couldn't help letting out a scornful laugh. Instead of daydreaming here, why don't you hurry up and marry Jiangyu already? Let's face it, with Song Shochi's current state, who'd even want him now? My words instantly drained all color from their faces. The show's over, no point sticking around anymore. Alright then, the kids are waiting for me at home, I'd better get going. With those words, I immediately stepped out of the hospital room. Little did I expect to run into Jiangyu right at the doorway. I'd never met Jiangyu before, didn't even know who she was. Before this, I'd only heard her name in passing, yet my first instinct told me it was Jiangyu. She seemed to have been standing at the door for quite a while, probably heard everything. Not that I particularly cared about her feelings, but what struck me as odd was, for some reason, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off about her. I shook my head and dismissed the thought. Maybe it was just my imagination, but soon enough, I'd discover exactly what was wrong. After returning from the hospital, Mrs. Song stubbornly came by several more times. She tried every possible angle to make me reconcile with Shochi Song. Unfortunately, the blank paper bore only Shochi's own handwriting. She had no leverage whatsoever. Though she never gained any ground, her persistent visits still managed to get on my nerves. As the saying goes, it's easier to be a thief for 1,000 days than to stay vigilant for 1,000. Dealing with her every day really takes a toll on my mood. Then one day, Mother Song actually tried to break in and kidnap the child. It made me realize this place could never be safe as long as they're around, so I secretly had my mother arrange to sell the house. Then one dark and windy night, I took the kids and fled to my father's place. By the time Mrs. Song realized what had happened, it was too late. But not long after, I heard that Mrs. Song took my advice and arranged for Jiangyu to marry Shochi Song. Ironically, she used to go to great lengths to expose Shochi and Jiangyu's relationship. Now she's begging Jiangyu to marry Shochi out of gratitude for saving her life. In any case, the two got married. I thought the story ended here. To my surprise, there was more to come, until the police showed up at our door investigating our family. That's when I discovered Jiangyu was actually a foreign spy. After being lured to the northern frontier by her, Song Shochi had been treating patients for the enemy nation all along. Barring any unforeseen circumstances, both of them would face execution by firing squad. At this moment, I felt profoundly grateful that I'd divorced Song Shochi before his departure. The investigation results came out swiftly, and we remained unaffected. As for Mr. and Mrs. Song, one turned gray overnight, the other lost their mind in a single night. When I heard the news, I just laughed it off. Good riddance, no more harassment from now on. Yet before long, I got a call from the police station. Song Shochi claims to have intel on enemy nations, but insists on meeting me in person first. I frowned, silently cursing this absurd demand in my mind, yet the officer's courtesy ultimately made me agree. Consider it my modest contribution to the nation, I thought to myself. With Song Shochi locked up, I felt no pressure or worries. I'd assumed he wanted to see me because of our son, yet his first words shocked me. Shiuching, have you been reborn? After a stunned moment, everything clicked. It seems Song Shochi has also been reborn, but his return came too late. Nothing could be changed anymore. Though thinking this, I feigned confusion and asked, Song Shochi, what are you talking about? Are you kidding? There are officers nearby recording our conversation. He's got screws loose. But I'm perfectly sane. I may understand it in my heart, but I won't breathe a word of it. But Song Shochi clearly doesn't realize this, his bloodshot eyes fixed on me as he declared with certainty, you've definitely been reborn. You came back for revenge, didn't you, Lu Shiuching? How could you be so heartless? If he's truly been reborn, he should remember what he did in his past life. I genuinely can't fathom where he gets the audacity to question me. What I've done to him doesn't even come close to a tenth of what he did in his past life, but I must admit, this outcome he's facing now truly does justice to my rebirth. I shot him a look as his expression gradually twisted into madness. I took a step back. I cautiously asked the person beside me, is he out of his mind? I can't understand a word he's saying. All this talk about rebirth and revenge. I've never done any of those things. The officer noticed my frightened expression and immediately tried to reassure me. Miss Liu, let me walk you out first. I nodded quickly in agreement. Even after several steps away, I could still hear Song Shochi's furious shouting behind me. I curled my lips in a cold smirk, feeling hopeless. Good, just rot here waiting for death. Unable to verify Song Shochi's statements, they ultimately declared him insane. Nobody believes the ramblings of a madman. This gives me absolutely no cause for concern. What's more, he was about to face the firing squad. On execution day, crowds gathered to gawk at the spectacle. Meanwhile, I was out on the balcony soaking up the sun with my son in my arms. His adorable smile made me shower him with kisses. Whispered to myself, good riddance, those who hurt us are gone from this world. My darling, you can grow up without fear now. The end. Story 2. When Zhoumu was still a nobody in the industry. I hung up Xinyao's desperate call for help without his consent to protect his hard-won audition opportunity. This left Xinyao trapped in a warehouse overnight, where she developed a high fever and lost all memory of him. From that moment on, Zhoumu harbored an intense hatred toward me. Later, when I had an accident on set, I turned to Zhoumu for help. In my final moments, all I remembered was Zhoumu's icy voice. Did you ever imagine this day would come when you hung up on Yao? I closed my eyes in despair. When I opened them again, I was back on the day of the audition. The familiar ringtone sounded. Seeing the flashing name on the screen, I called out to Zhoumu, who was just about to enter. Zhoumu, you've got a call. It's Xinyao. 1. Hearing my voice, Zhoumu withdrew the foot he'd already stepped forward. He eagerly pressed the answer button. Whatever was said on the call. Zhoumu's face instantly clouded with anxiety. With just a hurried I'm going to check on Io. He turned and sprinted away without looking back. Just then, the audition room door swung open as a staff member stepped out. Contestant number 24. Zhoumu. No response. I stepped forward and apologized to the staff. Zhoumu won't be able to attend due to unforeseen circumstances. The staff member's eyes betrayed undisguised regret. I forced a bitter smile. Of course they'd feel regret. Countless actors would kill for an audition and like a song. The new 3-year passion project by renowned director Liu Xiao. Zhoumu and I only got to participate thanks to our teacher's recommendation. An opportunity like this won't come twice. In his past life, Zhoumu skyrocketed to fame after starring in this drama, eventually becoming an award-winning actor. But in this lifetime, he didn't miss that call, and ultimately ran straight into Xinyao's arms. 2. Watching Zhoumu walk away, I found myself momentarily lost in thought. Last time when Xinyao called, I hung up without consulting Zhoumu, who'd already left his seat. To avoid disrupting his performance, I only told him about Xinyao's call after his audition ended. But when Zhoumu tried calling back, no one answered. I later learned that Xinyao was accidentally locked in a warehouse by the crew during filming. In the pitch-black cold, she called Zhoumu, desperately seeking his help. But when I hung up the call and Zhoumu tried calling back, she'd already fainted, leaving Xinyao trapped there all night. When she finally woke up, the high fever had erased her memories, making her forget Zhoumu completely. From that moment on, Zhou harbored an intense hatred for me, whether in public or private. He never bothered to conceal his contempt toward me, even at our 10-year class reunion, where Zhou showed up with Xin Yao, his newly announced fiancée. He still couldn't resist sneering at me. If it weren't for you, we wouldn't have wasted these 10 years. When you hung up on me back then, it was just to keep me away from Io, but guess what? She's fallen for me all over again. From now on, my life has nothing to do with you. I kept my head down without saying a word. I actually asked him once, if I told him Xin Yao's amnesia was fake, would he believe me? I'll never forget the fury in Zhou eyes and the icy words that left his lips. To cover up your own mistakes, you'd stoop so low as to slander Io. We grew up together since childhood, yet I never knew you could be this vicious. After knowing each other for over a decade, I thought what we had was at least an unspoken mutual affection, if not something more intimate than friendship yet not quite lovers. But now, he calls me vicious. My love for him withered bit by bit, until it froze completely in those two words. I let out a self-deprecating chuckle. Childhood sweethearts never stand a chance against fate's new arrival. I should have known better. 3. The audition results came out quickly. Just like last time, I got cast as the female lead's best friend. This marks the beginning of my acting career. With the skills I've honed in past lives, I'll only perform better. My roommate Chen Wei texted her congratulations, saying I'm the first in our class to land such a major role, while most juniors are still attending classes. I've already signed my first acting contract. After exchanging pleasantries, she finally asked me with hesitant curiosity, "Hey, did you hear? Zhou and Xin Yao are dating now." I paused for a second, then casually replied with just an "oh." Just as expected, Zhou wouldn't ditch such an important audition just for a meaningless knight in shining armor moment with Xin Yao. This is definitely going somewhere. Now that's what I call a happy ending, giving yourself to the one you love. Another message popped up. So, are you really okay? I mean, you used to be so crazy about Zhou. Chen Wei's concern radiated through every word, yet that single sentence left me frozen in thought for a long moment. 4. My crush on Zhou was practically public knowledge across campus, because during freshman year, I'd shamelessly confessed to him in front of everyone. His rejection came in that painfully cliched line, "Sorry, I've always seen you as a little sister." As he spoke those words, his eyes darted nervously behind me. Standing there behind me was Xin Yao. He spoke so bluntly because he feared Xin Yao might misunderstand. In that moment, it suddenly hit me. If this were a TV drama, I wouldn't be the female lead. After the failed confession, I dragged Chen Wei out for drinks to pour my heart out. A decade-long crush came to an end, leaving me with nothing but the ache of unrequited longing. Chen Wei asked why, with so many admirers around me, I'd set my heart on Zhou of all people. I couldn't quite explain it myself. I still remember that summer in my childhood when I took my first stage performance. After an accidental fall, while other kids were laughing, only Zhou stepped forward and helped me up. That's when the seed of affection was planted. Later we attended the same elementary school, the same high school, and eventually got into film academy together, with enduring companionship on our journey of growth and shared dreams. We've walked through so much hand in hand. That summer after the art exams, we curled up at home watching the awards ceremony on TV. When the best actor and actress walked in together, he suddenly grabbed my hand. One day we'll stand together at the center of that stage. Without a doubt, having grown up together, I was someone irreplaceable to Zhou. I thought this special treatment was meant for me alone. Until Xin Yao appeared. 5. On the first day of university during freshman introductions, unlike others' nervous hesitation, Xin Yao took the stage with effortless grace. "Hello everyone, I'm Xin Yao, looking forward to working with you all." Innocence, that was my first impression of her. I initially thought nothing of it. After all, our industry is full of beautiful people, each with their own persona and unique traits. That's all there is to it. I never expected that girl next door type like her would become so popular. They called her the one pure white jasmine. Zhou was among them too. By the time I realized it, Xin Yao had already blended right in with Zhou's circle. Zhou would drink with her at parties, stay up late watching meteors streak across the night sky with her, and even get into fights for her. When I saw Xin Yao applying medicine to Zhou's bruised eye socket with reddened eyes, sobbing while he casually reassured her it's nothing, doesn't hurt at all, I clenched my fists tightly. Because I clearly remembered how Zhou had taken me to confront my childhood bullies. I thought he'd start a fight, but unexpectedly, he resolved it through other means. Afterwards, He told me with grave seriousness, by he, we're destined for the stage, our image is everything, never recklessly put yourself in harm's way, you must protect your face at all costs, understand. His words still echo in my mind to this day, yet now, he's throwing punches for Xinyao without a second thought. Even letting his precious face get injured, perhaps his obvious favoritism toward Xinyao stirred an indescribable sense of crisis within me. Driven by this unease, I confessed my feelings to Zhou Mu. 6. For the confession, I meticulously prepared roses, candles, and fireworks. I never considered a girl making the first move as unconventional. Who speaks the words matters little when the heart is true. But what a pity, my confession didn't yield the outcome I'd hoped for. Instead, seeing Zhou Mu's gaze linger on Xinyao, I suddenly realized I'd been making a complete fool of myself. I was nothing but an awkward outsider. I'm the one who doesn't belong here. I'm just the delusional second female lead. Though it stung, I knew better than to keep pestering Zhou Mu after realizing the truth. In fact, I started deliberately avoiding Zhou Mu to prevent any misunderstanding. But we're in the same class, where exactly could I hide even if I tried? Every accidental touch, every emotionless exchange, every strictly professional interaction became fodder for their self-righteous interpretations. Their narrative was simple. After my humiliating exit, I still pined for Zhou Mu, still clung to lingering feelings, still refused to let go. I tried explaining a few times, but the more I did, the more forced it seemed, so I stopped bothering. I thought it was no big deal. I assumed these interpretations would naturally fade with time, yet I never imagined those trivial details I'd overlooked would bear such unexpected bitter fruit. 7. That day in the restroom, I overheard Xinyao's friend asking why she still hadn't accepted Zhou Mu after all his persistent pursuit. Xinyao wore an expression of deep conflict. But he clearly has feelings for Zhou Mu. If I get together with him, she'll be heartbroken, plus people will say I stole her crush. Her friends praised her for being considerate, but their words only fueled their resentment toward me. Honestly, by he should take the hint. Zhou Mu obviously isn't interested, yet she keeps throwing herself at him. Yeah, everyone has to bend to her will. So the situation gradually evolved into Zhou Mu having feelings for Xinyao, and Xinyao reciprocating, yet because of me, they couldn't be together. Not only was I the second female lead, but I'd also become the villainess standing in the way of the main couple's happiness. I don't know how things escalated to this point. All I feel is Zhou Mu growing increasingly distant and cold toward me, his gaze now laced with suppressed anger and impatience. Our relationship has hit rock bottom. That phone call became the final spark that ignited our conflict. Like everyone else, Zhou Mu believed I'd hung up out of jealousy toward Xinyao, so he resented me for a decade. Now in this second chance at life, I finally managed to stop him when the call came through. I stared at my phone screen, which showed my chat window with Zhou Mu. After the audition results came out, Zhou Mu messaged to ask how I did. When he heard I got the part, there was a long silence before he finally replied with just 2 words, "Congratulations." Out of courtesy, even though I already knew the answer, I asked about him and Xinyao. "I'm with Io now," he replied instantly. "Congratulations on getting what you've always wanted," I said. "Zhou Mu, those 10 lost years between you two, I've returned them to you this time. From now on, we're even." 8. After joining the film crew, my life became increasingly hectic as I focused solely on acting, leaving everything else behind. Occasionally scrolling through social media, I'd see classmates' audition updates alongside Zhou Mu and Xinyao's romantic posts. I'd calmly give them a like, though just a supporting role this time. My character's compelling traits made it stand out. Destined to be well received after airing, my accumulated acting skills caught director Lu Zhao's attention during filming. He even expanded my scenes. An unexpected bonus for me, the role Zhou Mu originally auditioned for ultimately went to an actor named Chen Yan. I'd known about this actor from my past life. His skills were excellent, but he never got the right breakthrough and remained under the radar. But with this drama role, he'll likely blow up soon if nothing goes wrong, just like Zhou Mu did in my previous life. After wrapping up filming, I returned to school. Since Zhou Mu and Xinyao were already together, there was no need to deliberately avoid them anymore. However, with most coursework completed during this period and everyone busy with auditions and filming off campus, we rarely crossed paths at school. Occasional encounters were just met with nods. The release of Song of Life catapulted its entire cast to fame. While hustling with the crew for promotions, I started receiving more acting offers. We met again at the graduation ball. Zhou Mu in his suit and Xin Yao in her evening gown looked like a perfect prince and princess pairing. Most classmates gathered around them, laughing and offering blessings. This picture-perfect couple embodied everyone's romantic fantasies. If it weren't for this tactless supporting actress, me, seeing this scene, I naturally kept my distance and stayed with the already famous seniors and professors instead. I had to admit, I was no longer on their level. One professor sighed while looking at Zhou Mu across the room. Xiao Zhou has both the looks and acting chops. What a shame he never got his big break. I lowered my head without speaking. Opportunities. This industry is packed with talented, good-looking people. But not everyone gets their shot at stardom. Zhou Mu did have this opportunity, but he chose to walk away from it himself. Yet he pursued love without hesitation. Who could say he was wrong? 9. After graduation, I became even busier with filming, finishing one project only to rush straight to the next set. I'm fully aware that acting isn't a profession where you can get by just by posing and looking pretty, especially for actresses. Youth is fleeting, you only have those few prime years. What truly matters is your body of work. With substantial work comes substantial influence. So I pushed myself harder, and harder, and harder still, filming, attending events, variety shows. I focused solely on my career, refusing to spare a single thought for irrelevant people or distractions. I just never expected to run into Zhou Mu and the others on set. Director Liu Xiao recommended me for the lead role in the film Best Actress. As for Zhou Mu and Xin Yao, they were extras. 10. Zhou Mu played a corpse, while Xin Yao fared slightly better with a walk-on role that had 2 lines. The three of us met, each feeling slightly awkward. Zhou Mu looked at me as if he had something to say. Xin Yao suddenly took Zhou Mu's hand in a possessive gesture. I offered a faint smile, nodded politely in greeting, then retreated to my dressing room. No matter what Zhou Mu wants to tell me, I won't listen. Having been given a second chance at life, I'm determined to cut all ties with them. Just as I was getting ready in the dressing room, Xin Yao suddenly knocked on my door. She said she wanted to rehearse lines with me. Now that you're famous, you won't forget us old classmates, right? Just give me some pointers. She acted with the easy familiarity of a long-lost classmate. Where's Zhou Mu? I asked casually. Mu was worried I'd get cold, so he went to buy me bubble tea, she said with a sweet smile. I instantly grasped her intention. After all, I used to have feelings for Zhou Mu. As his current girlfriend, she came here to flaunt their perfect relationship in my face. I responded with an indifferent smile, ignoring her petty games, and simply moved to rehearse our scene professionally. In the film, she plays a bystander who witnesses the villain committing murder, only to be silenced after accidentally stumbling upon the crime. This scene was filmed by an artificial lake. I temporarily stood in for the villain's role to deliver a couple of lines with her. Just when I thought we were done, she suddenly walked to the lakeside and jumped in. Why did you push me? As she was about to fall, she shouted at me. 11. Chaos erupted instantly. Her screams drew the rest of the crew over. Everyone scrambled to rescue her. Fortunately, the lake was shallow and she was quickly pulled to safety, but it was winter, and the bitter cold had her shivering uncontrollably under thick blankets even after being brought indoors. This was the scene Zhou Mu returned to with their coffees. Xin Yao threw herself into his arms the moment she saw him, sobbing as she poured out her grievances. I don't know why he pushed me. Everything was fine at first, but the moment your name came up, she suddenly got agitated. Mu, I'm so scared, sobbing. Zhou Mu whirled around to face me, his eyes bloodshot. I didn't do it, she jumped on her own, I said. Zhou Mu, please believe me, in this situation, my words just sounded like lame excuses. Enough. Zhou Mu slammed his coffee onto the floor, sending dark liquid splattering all over me. He stared at me, enunciating each word. You've gone too far. After knowing you for over a decade, I never thought you could be this vicious. I froze on the spot. 12. Vicious. Never thought I'd hear such words again after all this time in my past life. He'd spoken those very same words to me, years after Xin Yao lost her memory. I ran into her on a film set where I was shooting. By then I'd made my name. Zhou Mu was rising to fame, while Xin Yao remained an unknown actress, but Zhou Mu pulled some strings to get her into this production crew. At first, nothing seemed unusual. She had no memory of the past, so to her, I was just a complete stranger. But then, I accidentally overheard her phone call. It's not time to regain my memories yet. The longer I pretend to have amnesia, the more guilt Zhou Mu and he will feel toward me. Getting locked in the warehouse was just a prank from the start. I wanted to see if Zhou Mu would skip his audition for me. Faking amnesia was another joke, but they actually bought it. Guess I'll have to keep up the act. I heard Joe got nominated for Best Actor. If he actually wins, maybe I'll give him a chance. That's when I realized she'd been pretending all along. There were red flags from the very beginning. If she could still make calls while trapped in the warehouse, why didn't she call the police first instead of Joe? But after her memory loss, this suspicion had to be dropped. Now it seems everything was a lie. She cast herself in a role and expected everyone to play along. I contacted Joe and told him everything I'd witnessed. We hadn't spoken to each other for ages before that. Joe arrived promptly and confronted Xinyao in person. But Xinyao flatly denied it, pretending amnesia. I have no idea what you're talking about. Why are you framing me? Did I ever wrong you before? I know you don't want me getting too close to Joe. I'll keep my distance from now on. As her tearful, bewildered accusations continued, Joe turned his anger toward me. To cover up your own mistakes, you'd go so far as to slander Io like this. We grew up together since childhood, yet I never knew you could be this cruel. His icy words left me utterly at a loss. After all these years of friendship, he still wouldn't trust me, just like this time. 13. Coffee stains trickled down her hair. My assistant scrambled to wipe me down in a fluster. The director couldn't stand it anymore and stepped forward with a cold tone. Miss, you keep insisting he pushed you. Is there some grudge between you? He's been nothing but humble and polite since joining the crew. Don't make baseless accusations, after all. I was the lead actress they'd invested heavily in, and our previous collaborations had gone smoothly, compared to 2 extras. Of course the director would take my side. Xinyao put all 4 years of her acting training to use right then, tearfully explaining our relationship. The key point was my unrequited feelings for Joe, which turned into jealousy toward her. He once confessed to Mu in front of our classmates, even after being rejected. She couldn't let go and kept interfering with our relationship. Everyone at school knew this. She resents me because I ended up being the one who got together with Mu. The crowd instantly wore gossip-hungry expressions. Such juicy drama was rare, especially a love triangle involving 2 women fighting over a man, with one being a superstar like me. I never uttered a word throughout, not until she finished speaking. Not until the whispers died down. My gaze swept over Xinyao shivering under a towel, Joe glaring at me furiously, and the film crew gathering to gawk at the commotion. Tigerbot docs anti-piracy, need book recommendations, choose Tigerbot, reliable heavy checkmark no scams. Under their complicated gazes, I stepped forward to Xinyao. Did you think the cameras were off because filming hasn't started yet? Xinyao wore a perfect I don't know what you're talking about expression. I smirked. I turned on the camera before the audition. Xinyao's expression finally changed at those words. A camera was set up by the artificial lake. 14. The camera was indeed turned off when we weren't officially filming, but knowing Xinyao wasn't as innocent as she pretended to be, how could I not stay guarded? So when she wasn't looking, I secretly turned the camera on. Every move she made got captured on film. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the camera, which clearly captured Xinyao jumping into the lake herself after delivering her lines. Just before plunging into the lake, she claimed I was the one who pushed her. The truth came to light. All eyes turned to Xinyao, filled with mockery and derision. Xinyao's panic was written all over her face, especially when she met Joe's disbelieving gaze. I didn't mean it, I was just joking around. Xinyao frantically tried to explain, reaching out to grab Joe's arm. Joe instinctively recoiled, then, as if suddenly realizing something, he turned to look at me. I'm sorry, director, I don't want to see these 2 extras on set again. I ignored him. The director immediately agreed. Don't worry, I'll handle it. Without another word, I turned and headed back to my dressing room. I didn't even glance at Xinyao or Joe. After this incident passed, the film resumed its normal shooting schedule. My life has also returned to normal. Xinyao and Joe had it much worse. Their on-set delays angered the director, who blacklisted them in a group message, costing them even background roles. When the director mentioned it to me, there was clear favoritism in his tone. I should have called the police back then, letting them off easy, but at least this way, I've gotten some payback for you. True. We really should have reported it to the authorities. The only reason I just kicked them out was to spare them the humiliation, a final courtesy for old classmates. As for how they're doing now, that's none of my concern. When staff occasionally drop hints about Xinyao's gossip, I can laugh it off and casually bring up those old memories without a second thought. When Joe left me, I thought I'd lost someone to share my umbrella with. Only later did I realize my world was never rainy, all storms came from him. This time, it's me who won't hold the umbrella for him anymore. I thought this would be our ending, that our paths would never cross again. Little did I know, this wasn't the end of it. Sometime after filming Wrapped, the hashtag #BuyHeHomewrecker suddenly trended on social media. 15. Tabloids claimed an insider revealed I'd knowingly tried to break up a relationship during college, though pixelated and voice distorted. I instantly recognized the insider's silhouette as Shin Yao. There's no one else left. Besides leaking stories to paparazzi and giving interviews, she even wrote a lengthy post detailing the messy love triangle we had back in college. With several hit dramas under my belt, I was at the peak of my popularity then. One trending topic would spark 3 or 4 viral hashtags in quick succession. #BuyHasRomance #BuyHGotRejected #BuyHTheHomewrecker The comments section was a wild mix of hilarious takes, TCH, figures, that face just screams homewrecker, disgusting homewrecker, she should be cancelled, maybe there's some misunderstanding, with Hihi's charm, she's got suitors lining up around the block, OMG, even goddesses get rejected. If it were me, I'd probably faint from happiness. Who is that man? The agent rushed to handle the situation as soon as the topic trended. The assistant scrolled through Shin Yao's interview indignantly. This is outright distortion, we let her off last time, yet she's still making trouble. The agent's expression remained impassive. It was after her last failed attempt that she couldn't land any roles, so now she's burning bridges by spilling the beans recklessly. Several brands have already called to inquire, if we don't handle this properly, not only will she lose endorsements, but her acting career in films and TV shows will be over too. She's trying to destroy Hihi. What should we do then? The assistant sprang to her feet. The agent abruptly changed the subject. Hihi's new film Best Actress has been scheduled for release. Right. The assistant replied absent-mindedly, no rush. The agent chuckled, let the bullets fly for a while. The trending topic persisted. 16. Instead of addressing it directly, I only posted some diplomatic statements before shifting to promoting the new movie. Seeing that I ignored her, Shin Yao grew bolder. She actually created an account to show her face, post photos, and share lengthy captions. Riding on my clout, she managed to attract quite a following, mostly consisting of my anti-fans. To my surprise, Zhou Mu soon stepped forward for an interview and even went live, but this time, he didn't unconditionally defend Shin Yao. Instead, he took the opposite stance. Miss Bai he did confess to me, but that was before my relationship with Miss Shin Yao. So the claim that she interfered in our relationship is completely unfounded. The livestream chat was buzzing with juicy gossip. Come quick, the main characters here. Disgusting. Defending the mistress after being seduced. Make way, let's see what kind of premium specimen dares reject our goddess. Later, Zhou Mu reached out to me, saying he'd already broken up with Shin Yao and had no involvement in her actions. He begged for my forgiveness. Citing his livestream where he'd cleared my name, I closed my phone without responding. I did watch Zhou Mu's livestream. On screen, he appeared meticulously groomed, calmly recounting the whole incident to the camera while offering sincere apologies to viewers. With his striking looks, he gained more followers than Shin Yao after the livestream, and most of them were originally my fans. After all, he went live to defend me, yet I couldn't bring myself to feel happy about it. Deep down, he's no different from Shin Yao, just riding on my fame to boost his own popularity. There've been a few influencers who blew up this way before. All that righteous, devoted persona he's crafting, just another way to exploit me. Pathetic. Since Zhou Mu has stepped forward, I'm in no hurry now. I'll just keep promoting my films and TV shows. The internet then became a battleground for Shin Yao and Zhou Mu's mutual mudslinging. 17. One side accused the other of being a two-timing scumbag. The other side fired back, calling it slander and malicious marketing. Chen Wei, who came to visit the set, sighed with regret to me about this public spat, remembering how passionately they dated in college. Now their breakup has become everyone's business. What a disgrace. That was Chen Wei's final verdict. I remained non-committal. So you're just going to sit back and do nothing, wait for the buzz to die down? Chen Wei asked me. Of course not. I tapped my fingers rhythmically on the cold marble table while scanning my schedule. Soon, 3 days later, just before the premiere of my starring film, my studio's official account unexpectedly posted a police report receipt regarding Shin Yao's defamation allegations. The post included detailed confirmation from public security authorities that my report was substantiated, along with a legal primer. Under Article 246 of China's criminal law, the crime of insult involves publicly humiliating others through violence or other means, or fabricating facts to defame others. In serious cases, offenders face penalties of up to 3 years imprisonment, criminal detention, public surveillance, or deprivation of political rights. Meanwhile, media outlets with close ties to our studio released reports about Xin Yao's arrest, complete with footage from the arrest scene. Naturally, Xin Yao's face was pixelated in the footage to avoid potential portrait rights disputes. Subsequently, both my university mentor who had always looked out for me and an anonymous classmate named Chen Wei gave interviews. Chen Wei also kindly provided screenshots of Xin Yao and Zhou Mu's social media posts along with our chat history, reconstructing the details of our romantic entanglement during college. Look, they got together during junior year when Bai He was constantly away filming. How could anyone interfere with their relationship? Besides, Bai He was already gaining fame by graduation, totally out of their league. Okay, but let's be real, Bai He did get rejected once. Shortly after, the official account of the upcoming film Best Actress released behind-the-scenes footage of Xin Yao falling into the water, captioned, "Miss Shen is no stranger to slander, but this time we won't go easy on her P.S. The off-screen drama hasn't affected He's flawless performance. Stay tuned for more in Best Actress." This move was brutal. Not only did it expose Xin Yao's scheme against me, but it also shattered Zhou Mu's carefully crafted public image. The footage released earlier by the production team included that scene where Zhou Mu threw coffee at me. After this full-court press, Xin Yao is completely done for. He's getting roasted online and might even face criminal charges. Zhou Mu didn't fare any better either. He's now synonymous with scumbag and shameless. Apart from my anti-fans and a handful of clueless bystanders drawn to his looks, barely anyone pays him attention anymore. Given his current situation, no production crew would want him for acting roles anyway. The biggest winners were undoubtedly me and the production team of Leading Lady. The next day, Leading Lady premiered to record-breaking box office numbers, propelling my fame to new heights. So later, I posted a heartfelt thank you note. In it, I expressed gratitude to fans and crew, while also giving my first-person account to clarify my relationships with Zhou Mu and Xin Yao, finally putting those absurd dramas to rest. At the end of the article, I wrote these words: "I want to be the leading lady of my own life." After that chapter closed, I remained focused on acting. The only difference was that I started getting better roles and more opportunities than before. 18. At our 5-year reunion, we all gathered together again. Only a few former classmates had achieved some fame, while most remained unknown yet persevering. It's only been 5 years, too soon to throw in the towel. This gathering inevitably reminded me of graduation day, except now I found myself at the center of attention. After getting beaten down by society, those rose-tinted romantic fantasies finally fade from everyone's minds as reality sets in. Opportunities, competition, and connections. Ever since I landed Chen Wei roles in multiple dramas, I became the connection. Without a doubt, I'm the most successful among us all. Film offers and variety show invitations keep pouring in, and there are even rumors swirling about a romance with the newly crowned Best Actor Chen Yin. Everyone gathered around me for some juicy gossip. Hee. Are you really dating Chen Yin? Crash, the sound of shattering glass. Turning my head, I spotted Zhou Mu sitting in the corner. Gone was his former vigor, replaced now by visible exhaustion on his face. After that incident, his reputation plummeted to the point where no one would cast him. According to Chen Wei, he's currently working as a stunt double on set. As for Xin Yao, she was sentenced to 2 years for intentionally staging a drowning to frame me criminally, a severe offense that later caused massive online backlash. She's out now, but completely blacklisted from showbiz, reduced to selling her body. She's become some sugar daddy's kept woman. Just then, Zhou Mu dropped his glass. It shattered as he murmured sorry and bent to pick up the pieces. Others just glanced sideways before indifferently looking away. Not a soul came forward to show concern, just as crowds flocked around him 5 years ago and now surround me. The fickleness of human relationships is the cruelest truth. It's not true. We've only met a few times during films and variety shows. We're not dating. Just good friends who click, I continued, debunking the rumors. Really, but the way Oscar-winning actor Chen Yin looks at you screams more than just friends, Chen Wei teased, leaning in with a smirk. I lowered my head with a faint smile. At least for now. As for the future, we'll see. After the class reunion, life returned to normal. During that time, thanks to Chen Yan's persistent efforts, we we officially became a couple, 19, soon. Another film of mine was released. And my performance in the previous movie Best Actress earned me a Best Actress nomination. On the eve of the awards ceremony, I unexpectedly received a call from Jo Moo's mother. AMU had an accident on set, he's not going to make it, his last wish was to see you, please, come see him. The trembling sob pierced my ears, leaving me momentarily dazed. By the time I reached the hospital, he had slipped into a coma. Jo Moo was working as the male lead stunt double when the safety wire snapped, sending him plummeting from the heights. Mother Jo was weeping uncontrollably beside them. Moo, he is here, didn't you want to see her? At those words, Jo Moo's eyes flew open, he strained to raise his hand toward me, my heart ached, so I placed my hand over his, then I heard him ask, why didn't you hang up on me in this lifetime? I froze in place, what nonsense is Moo saying, he must be confused. Mother Jo murmured apologetically, her gaze shifting toward me. I remained silent. 20. Because I knew he wasn't confused. Like me, he'd regained memories of his past life in his final moments. Jo Moo, do you resent me? I asked deliberately, locking eyes with him. He fell silent for a long moment, then suddenly burst into tears as if struck by some memory, finally whispering 3 words, I'm sorry. He gripped my hand tightly. I'm so sorry. What's going on here, Mrs.? Jo was completely baffled by our conversation. I gently withdrew my hand and comforted her. Auntie, please don't grieve too much. Take good care of yourself. I should get going now, Mrs. Jo expressed gratitude for my visit to see Jo Moo one last time. After exchanging a few polite words, I turned to leave. As I stepped out of the hospital room, I could still hear Jo Moo's tearful murmurs. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Leaving the hospital, I stood in the sunlight and couldn't help but take a deep breath. Mom Jo didn't understand, but I knew exactly why he kept saying sorry. He was apologizing for that day in our past life, the day I died. In my previous life, my agent brought me a script asking if I'd take the role. The moment I read the plot, I made my decision right then and there. 21. It was only then that my agent hesitantly revealed the investors had demanded Jo Moo as the male lead for the script. By that time, Jo Moo and Shin Yao were already married, and I thought it was about time to let bygones be bygones between us. After some consideration, I agreed, but as it turned out, I'd been far too optimistic. The first thing Jo Moo said to me was, why can't I seem to shake you off? He still held a grudge. Despite my embarrassment, the show must go on. On set, we barely spoke except when rehearsing scenes. Distant as strangers, occasional minor conflicts arose, usually ending with me backing down, nothing worth mentioning, until that day came. I woke up feeling unwell early that morning. Of all times, my agent was back at the office for a meeting, and my assistant had family matters, so I gave her the day off. After finishing my scenes, I let the crew know and found an empty room to be alone for a while. We were filming in an abandoned factory where the crew had repurposed a few rooms for storage, one of which I ended up in. I only meant to rest briefly, but I felt so unwell that I ended up passing out. When I came to, it was pitch black. I'd been locked inside the room, my phone was nowhere to be found, and the film crew had already wrapped for the day. Panic started creeping in under these circumstances. I began shouting for help, hoping some crew members might still be within earshot. I can't believe someone actually responded. It's Jo Moo. The physical pain was clouding my mind, making me overlook why Jo Moo was still here after the crew had left. Jo Moo, I've misplaced my phone. Could you call a staff member to unlock the door and let me out? In the flashlight's beam, Jo Moo's face took on a ghastly appearance. Leaving. Did you ever imagine you'd end up in the same predicament as Io? Hearing his mocking words, a sudden realization struck me like lightning. It was you, that's right. I saw you lying here. I told the staff you'd already left. My heart sank like a stone. No wonder they didn't wake me when leaving, even though I'd clearly informed the staff. So that's how it is. He waved my phone in his hand. Every time Io recalls the past, it torments her deeply. She was locked in that warehouse all night. Now, you'll get to experience what she felt. With those words, he turned and walked away, completely ignoring my desperate pleas. He thought it was just a harmless prank, that being locked in overnight was no big deal, but he never anticipated the old factory's faulty wiring would spark a raging inferno. I perished horribly in those flames. So listen, Jo Moo, no matter how many times you apologize now, I'll never forgive you. The company car was already waiting at the entrance when I left the hospital. On the way back, My assistant quickly briefed me on the event schedule, followed by a frantic rush to change outfits, do makeup, and take photos. 22. When everything was finally done, with some time still left before the red carpet, I closed my eyes to rest in the dressing room. In a daze, I seemed to dream of my past life. In my past life after I died, the police investigated the cause of my death. Staff testimonies exposed Zhou Mu's lie about me having already returned. When probing Zhou Mu's motives for lying, Xin Yao's name inevitably came up. The investigation eventually uncovered that prank Xin Yao had played years ago to test Zhou Mu. Xin Yao's amnesia was all an act. The truth came out. Zhou Mu completely broke down after learning the truth. He grabbed Xin Yao by the collar like a madman. Over a decade, I loved you so much, yet you played me for a fool all these years. In the end, Zhou Mu was taken away by the police and sentenced to 10 years. Xin Yao had no direct involvement in my death, so she was released after a few days in custody. She lived lavishly for a while with the money she'd saved up, but the good times didn't last. In this life, he didn't miss that call and ultimately rushed to Xin Yao. The first thing he did after getting out was to storm into Xin Yao's villa with a knife, plunging it into her chest as she struggled. Then he set the place ablaze, trapping himself in the flames. With his dying breath, he whispered into the empty air, "I'm sorry, Baiha." The smoke cleared. I woke up. My phone buzzed with a message from Zhou's mother. The message said Zhou Mu didn't make it despite the doctor's efforts. 23. I replied, "My deepest condolences." Words failed me beyond that. My assistant opened the door to inform me the event was starting. After gathering my thoughts, I strode forward with purpose. The tangled web of right and wrong had its price secretly predetermined by fate all along. What's past is prologue. All I can do is stay focused on walking my own path. On the awards ceremony stage, the host excitedly called out my name, and the Best Actress award goes to Bai He. Congratulations, He. Let's welcome our presenter Chen Yan to award the trophy. The audience erupted in thunderous cheers. As I stepped onto the stage, gazing at the sea of twinkling lights below, I couldn't help but recall what Zhou Mu once told me when we were young, his hand tightly holding mine. Bai He. One day we'll stand together at the center stage. I placed my hand in Chen Yan's palm, walking forward together with him. Zhou Mu, I did it, but you were never meant to be my leading man. I'm nobody's supporting character. I'm the leading lady of my own life. The end. Story 2. I'd been infatuated with a prodigy for years. Later, his family fell from grace. He was disabled in a car accident, and I took him in and cared for him diligently, but until I died, he never stopped thinking about his first love. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to 18. This time, I ignored him, and was always with my childhood friend. He stopped me and asked with red eyes, "Where are you going?" 1. On my 26th birthday, I was hit by a truck and thrown into the air. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to 18. In the classroom, classmates were excitedly discussing the transfer student. I heard he's the school's top student from the neighboring private high school, and he came here to rebel against his family. That private high school, the one that costs 300,000 yuan a year. Yes, they're all rich kids. The door suddenly opened, and the conversation immediately stopped. A girl whispered in surprise, "I know, as long as I lift my head, I can see the sunlight shining on the boy's short hair." Just one glance, and I was completely lost to him back then. The homeroom teacher smiled and said, "Everyone, be quiet, please introduce yourself, new student." The familiar voice I had expected did not come. I lifted my head. He looked from afar, across the crowd. We locked eyes. I was stunned for a moment, then quickly looked away. Seeing that he didn't speak, the homeroom teacher urged again. He suddenly took a step forward and walked straight towards me. "Sue, classmate." My heart jumped suddenly. I pretended not to notice. He stared at me, his eyes complex. "Do you remember me?" The classmates whispered among themselves with curiosity. The homeroom teacher also looked confused. He seemed not to notice, staring at me intently, full of inquiry. His eyes seemed to shine. It turned out, he had also returned. I lowered my eyelashes. "You still remember me?" he asked again. "Don't you?" I slightly lifted my lips. When I looked up again, there was innocence and confusion. "Do we know each other?" That light suddenly went out, too. Song Yangyu seemed to be trying to find me. "That's right, it's me from the past life." He chose to sit in the empty seat behind me. My deskmate Tao Tao whispered, "Sun Yan, do you really not know Song Yangyu?" I shook my head, "But, he seems to be looking at you all the time." "I know, but I pretended not to see him and continued to listen to the class and read normally. At this moment, he must be very confused, the girl who once had a long-term crush on him, who never left him even when his family fell into hardship and he lost his legs. Why is she now so cold towards him in this life? Tao Tao whispered again, does he like you? The so-called instant love at first sight. I let out a cold laugh. That's impossible. The one who is loved loses admiration and falls from the pedestal. He probably just couldn't accept it. Now he has everything again, legs, family, wealth. These are far more important than me. Not long after, his eyes will leave me and focus on something more important. After class, several girls surrounded Song Yangyu. Song classmate, let's add WeChat. I'll invite you to the class group. He hesitated for a moment, then took out his phone. The girl gasped, the girl on your wallpaper is really beautiful. Is she your girlfriend? I turned my head to look in the direction of the sound. He suddenly snapped his phone shut. His expression was annoyed. No. I turned around and let out a light laugh. That photo was Guaziru, a young lady who was like a moonlight in his life. He had liked her for years. And after much effort, they finally got together, but were forced to break up due to his family's decline in fortune, and the girl's family opposed their relationship. He got so drunk he drove to see her, and on the way, he was in a car accident and lost both his legs. When I found him in the hospital, his amputated limbs were bloody and full of wounds. He had no strength to speak a word, but with red eyes, he told me to leave. Once a proud youth, now he had fallen into the mud. I ultimately decided to stay and take care of him. He had nowhere else to go, so I took him home, taking care of his every need with great attention. At first, he always broke things and shouted at the slightest issue, but I always remained patient, perhaps moved by my patience. He gradually stopped being irritable, but became silent. Sometimes he would sit by the window all day. I was afraid he might do something to himself, so I never slept through the night, and would immediately wake up and run to his side at the slightest sound. After half a year like this, one day I asked him what he wanted for dinner. He looked out the window in silence for a long time, and then suddenly said, I can't give you anything. I was taken aback for a moment. He was sitting in a wheelchair, very thin. I crouched down and tentatively hugged him. He didn't run away. I don't need anything from you. I rested my chin on his shoulder. You being by my side is enough. He stiffened for a moment. A warm sensation soaked through the clothes and landed on my shoulder. At that time, I naively thought that he probably really felt my sincerity, until Guaziru appeared again. 3. Song Yangyu, there's someone looking for you outside. A shout interrupted my thoughts. Outside the classroom, a slender girl in a white dress was standing. My chest suddenly sank. It was none other than Guaziru, in the previous life. She heard that Song Yangyu had transferred schools and came specially to advise him not to quarrel with his family. Her tone was gentle, and her behavior was dignified. At that time, I saw the two of them as a perfect match and felt inferior. Song Yangyu responded to the classmate who delivered the message in an annoyed manner. Tell her to come back after school. I was a bit surprised. After school, as I was packing my things to leave, I was suddenly stopped by Song Yangyu. I'm looking for someone. She looks a lot like you. I looked at him, completely puzzled. I really don't know you. He stood there in shock. Song Yangyu would never have imagined that one day, I would no longer like him. Completely, no longer like him. The day I was hit by a truck was my 26th birthday. My soul floated in the sky. My mind wasn't I don't want to die, but what will happen to Song Yangyu after I die? So I used all my strength to fly home in the rain, just wanting to see him one last time. But at home, I saw Guaziru. I didn't know when they got in touch, but Song Yangyu was sitting in front of her, his face full of peace and tenderness. They spoke of the past's beauty, occasionally smiling at each other. That was a kind of understanding we never had. Finally, Guaziru mentioned me. Sun Yan might not be as innocent as you think. She knows you are the sole heir to your uncle's fortune, and she brought you here possibly. She stopped there. I was floating in the air, shaking my head desperately. No, I don't know. From the beginning, my efforts were only because of love. Song Yangyu remained silent for a long time. I see. I floated in front of him, trying to make him sense me. But the next second, Guaziru lowered her head and kissed him. He didn't move away. I clutched my chest and screamed wildly. It was raining heavily outside. They couldn't hear me. My head felt like it was splitting apart, and before my consciousness faded, there was only one thought. I will never like him again. I hate him. 4. I walked out of the school gate and saw Guaziru. She looked inside and saw Song Yangyu following behind. then ran forward to meet him. Yang Yu, don't quarrel with your family anymore, you don't need to persuade me. The sound of the two people talking came from behind. I lowered my head and walked away quickly, but I bumped into someone. Sun Yan, right? A sinister voice said. I looked up and saw a familiar face. Yansini from class 6, behind her stood two tall and strong boys who looked like they were looking for trouble. That's when I suddenly remembered, in a previous life, I caught her smoking in the restroom, and not long after, she was punished by the grade director. She believed I had reported her, and she bullied me for several months. One evening, I was beaten up badly, and Song Yangyu arrived like a savior. Kicking over all the bullies, he looked at them lazily, speaking carelessly. If I see them again, I'll beat them each time. At that moment, the feelings of infatuation burst to the surface. Many years later, when I was taking care of him with leg disabilities, I mentioned this incident, and he took a long time to recall it. They were unlucky. That day I was in a bad mood. He said it in one sentence. Brushing it aside, I fell silent. It turned out that the innocent feelings I had carefully preserved for so long were just a small effort to him. Why aren't you talking? Yansini pushed me hard. You were quick to report, weren't you? I looked up and said, it wasn't me. She was stunned, then angrily grabbed my collar. Only you saw it, and you still say it's not you. In my previous life, I was timid and afraid, and I didn't dare to tell anyone when I was bullied. But now, I've already died once, and I won't be afraid of anyone anymore. I suddenly pulled away from her. Go away, what did you say? I stared into her eyes. Word by word, I said, go away. Around me were classmates going home, and Yansini couldn't bear the embarrassment. She raised her hand and slapped me. Slap, a sharp sound, and everyone turned to look. Without thinking, I immediately slapped her back. She covered her cheek. Looking in disbelief, hold her down. Two boys behind her were about to step forward when suddenly they were kicked to the ground by a flying figure. The person pinned them to the ground and beat them relentlessly with punches. Everyone was stunned, including me. Guazairu screamed, Yangyu, stop fighting, but he was like a madman, continuing until the person was bleeding from the head. He slowly got up and walked toward me step by step, pulling out a pitiful smile. I won't let anyone hurt you. I took a step back. He suddenly came to his senses, his eyelashes trembling. Are you afraid of me? He suddenly grabbed my hand. You said, I'm enough for you. Do you remember? I shook him off forcefully. I looked at him with an extremely cold gaze. Crazy person. 5. The story of the transfer student fighting for love spread quickly throughout the school. I instantly became a celebrity. From that day on, Song Yangyu changed his strategy. He no longer asked me repeatedly if I remembered, but instead showed me excessive care. A spoiled young master, who brought me breakfast every day, fetched hot water, took over all my cleaning duties, and followed me after school to make sure I got home safely. My deskmate Tao Tao excitedly advised me, Song Yangyu has done so much for you, aren't you moved? I smiled and said, that many. Tao Tao was stunned. In my past life, I had liked Song Yangyu for 8 years. I wrote hundreds of love letters that I never sent, tried to lose weight, studied, and carefully approached him. I knew I was not as good as Guazairu, but that didn't stop me from doing many things for him. Just when I thought I had no chance with him, his father went bankrupt and committed suicide. His mother went crazy. Guazairu broke up with him, and he became disabled in a car accident. On the day I found him, I wanted to tell him that I liked him, but that word like, I never got to say it before I died. But now, I don't like him anymore. After school, Song Yangyu followed me again. Normally I would tell him not to follow, but this time I said nothing. I waited at the school gate for a while. Far away, a young man approached. Sorry, I'm late, Xiao Bingyan said with a smile. It's okay. Well, why did you suddenly ask me to come? Did you get into trouble again? I caught a glimpse of Song Yangyu not far away. I took a step forward and took Xiao Bingyan's arm. No, I just thought we were childhood friends, and it's been a while since we last saw each other, so let's have a meal together. Xiao Bingyan was surprised, then laughed and ruffled my head. At least you have some conscience. I laughed along and was about to leave with him when someone suddenly rushed forward and blocked our way. Song Yangyu stared fiercely at Xiao Bingyan, then tightly at me, his eyes red. Sun Yan, he whispered my name, his voice trembling, like a puppy afraid of being abandoned. My chest trembled slightly, but I spoke coldly. What's it to you? He asked with red eyes. Where are you going? I instinctively tightened my grip on Xiao Bingyan's arm. It's none of your business. He asked again. Where are you going? I didn't respond anymore, pulling Xiao Bingyan as we brushed past him. "Who is that?" Xiao Bingyan asked. I turned back and said loudly, "I don't know him." Song Yangyu's lonely figure shuddered slightly. 6. Song Yangyu didn't follow us anymore. I and Xiao Bingyan went to a noodle shop we often went to before. All the way there, I kept talking, trying to make him forget the incident just now, but not long after we sat down, Xiao Bingyan stared at me and said, "That person just now, you know him, don't you?" I paused for a moment. "Ah, our class transfer student, like you." "No, are you sure?" Xiao Bingyan said carelessly. His eyes looked like they had lost something most important. I paused in my actions. I thought again about those red eyes. Actually, he once looked at me like that. I had been taking care of him at home all along, but in the end, my mom found out. My dad passed away when I was very young, and my mom raised me, so when she found out, she immediately called me, looking very shocked and disappointed. "Nian Nian, this is such a big matter, why didn't you discuss it with me? As a girl, how can you take care of a disabled person?" At that time, I had multiple jobs to make money. But I didn't want her to worry, so I lied. "His parents left him some money, I'm just helping to take care of him." "That's not good either. How can an unmarried girl take care of him? You should also quit your job and go back to the hometown." Seeing my mother's determined attitude, I had to pretend to agree first, thinking of explaining it to her in person and finding a reason to come back. So during that time, I started packing my luggage to go back to the hometown. Song Yangyu saw it but didn't ask anything, but he seemed to have sensed something, and those few days he was unusually quiet and gentle. On the day of leaving, I lied to Song Yangyu and said I had to go on a business trip for a few days. He hummed. When I turned to open the door, he suddenly asked in a low voice, "Will you come back?" My heart skipped a beat, and I turned back to look at him. He was sitting by the window, his thin face without a trace of color, as if he would vanish with the wind if he stayed away for too long. "Yes," I nodded forcefully. "That time when I went home, I had a hard time convincing my mom. I told her about my long-time infatuation with Song Yangyu and how special he was to me. Actually, it wasn't because I wanted to be with him, but because I didn't want to see the boy I once liked so much fall into the deepest pit of mud, without anyone to take care of him." Mom listened quietly. "Finally," I said, "when he gets used to the prosthetic and can take care of himself, I will leave." Mom agreed. I booked a train ticket that night and went back. It was already early morning when I arrived at the station. It was drizzling, and I pulled my coat tight as I hurried back. I thought Song Yangyu had already gone to sleep, so I carefully opened the door. The moment I turned on the light, I froze. He was sitting by the window, in the exact same posture as when I left. If it weren't for the fact that he was asleep with his eyes closed, I would have thought that he had been sitting there without moving since I left. "Song Yangyu." I called his name softly. He slowly opened his eyes. After a moment of confusion and daze, he saw me. "Sun Yen." He murmured my name. The next moment, he looked at me and suddenly his eyes were red, like a lost puppy. "You're finally back." My chest ached for a moment. I ran over without even taking off my coat. My hair still had a damp feel, and I crouched in front of him, speaking softly. "I'm sorry, I'm a bit late." He suddenly hugged me. I momentarily forgot to breathe. This hug was not warm, it carried the chill of rain, but my breath became hot, my mind became confused, so confused that when Song Yangyu kissed me, I only felt that his lips seemed a bit cold. He kissed me on this rainy night of reuniting after a long separation, so when I saw him accept Guiziru's kiss, I didn't understand. What kind of feelings did he have when he kissed me, and what kind of thoughts did he have when he kissed another woman not long after kissing me? Maybe it's always been my self-inflicted infatuation. From the beginning to the end, I never had a place in his heart. 7. Under Xiao Bingyan's questioning, I admitted that Song Yangyu was harassing me. "You don't like him at all?" Xiao Bingyan asked. "No, I don't like him at all." Xiao Bingyan nodded. "After dinner, he dropped me off at the entrance of the residential area, because I came to study in the city from high school. I have always been staying at my uncle's house. Before school ended, I had already called my uncle to tell him I would be back a bit later, but when I got home, my aunt still spoke in a sarcastic way. "She's in senior year. Who's a proper girl staying out so late?" My uncle scolded her. "Speak quietly." She looked uninterested. Did I say something wrong? Jia Rui saw her leaving with that guy from the Chow family. I looked at my cousin, who was acting as if nothing had happened. "Since I moved in with them, he has been targeting me all along. He and Yensini are in the same class. In the past life, he had often planned with Yensini to bully me." I silently went back to my room. I turned on my phone and found a voice message from my mom. "Nyen Nyen, have you been under a lot of pressure lately?" My heart skipped a beat. Auntie probably already complained to my mom. I paused for a moment and replied, "No, everything is fine." My mom replied immediately, "That's good. If there's anything, remember to tell me. Mom will always support you." I stared at the screen, and my vision suddenly blurred. If I had left after Song Yangyu could take care of himself as I had promised, I probably wouldn't have been hit by a truck at the crossroads on my 26th birthday after arguing with him and running out in the rain in a huff. What did we argue about that day? He found a love letter I had written to him when I was 18. He asked me, "Has this feeling expired?" I stared at his thin figure, dazed for 2 seconds. He probably misunderstood what I meant. He let out a cold laugh. "I'm just a failure. You have the chance to pursue your own happiness, don't waste it on me." "You misunderstood." "I'm not." "Misunderstand what?" "That I brought you here to take care of you because I like you, that I want to be with you. I really don't have that selfish thought of taking advantage. I'm taking care of you just because." Pitying me, he laughed coldly. "It's just because you feel sorry for me. If you don't want to be with me, don't say it so hypocritically." I looked at him in disbelief. So much time spent together and the effort put in. The result was just as one sentence, hollow and pretentious. I ran out of the house with tears on my face. It was raining outside, and I walked around the street again and again. When I passed by a cake shop, I suddenly remembered that today was my birthday. This morning, Xiao Bingyan had sent me a birthday wish, asking when we could have a meal together. I didn't reply. At this moment, my mom suddenly called. I hurriedly answered the phone. "Nyen Nyen, happy birthday, after today. You'll be 26, did you order a cake?" I stared at the exquisite cake behind the glass display case. "Ordered, Doraemon's, a big one." "Is that so?" Mom asked with a smile. "Is it for your friends?" I held back my tears. "Yes, they prepared a lot of gifts for me." Mom hesitated for a moment. "Did you cry?" "I'm happy. I don't want to talk about it anymore. We're going to cut the cake." I quickly hung up the phone. The cake shop employee happened to approach. "Miss, do you need to buy a cake?" I shook my head, turn and walk away quickly. The rain was getting heavier and heavier. I wondered how Song Yangyu was after being away for so long. He was alone at home. What if he had a breakdown? Thinking about this, I quickened my pace. I ran despite the heavy rain. The red light came on, but I didn't stop. The glaring lights illuminated everything, and in the sharp sound of brakes, I flew into the air. As my soul desperately flew back home, he was kissing another woman. 8. I suddenly came to my senses. The 5 internal organs and 6 bowels are aching faintly. The phone screen is stuck on the message, "Mom always supports you." Until I died, I never understood my mother's love for me. I was struggling in an almost obsessive crush, making unappreciated and unvalued efforts and sacrifices. In the end, I had nothing. In this second life, I will never make the same mistakes again. The next day, Song Yangyu didn't come to school. For several days in a row, he didn't show up. Tao Tao asked me, "Sun Yan, do you know what's wrong with Song Yangyu?" I was indifferent. "I don't know." "Don't you worry at all. It's none of my business." She was speechless from my retort. At the same time, my cousin Li Jiarui seemed to have some trouble. He came home very late with a face full of bruises. His aunt screamed, "What happened? Who hit you like this?" "I fell," he said impatiently. "How could that be?" "Tell Mom who did this, and Mom will take you to report it to the police." Li Jiarui remained silent, but he looked at me angrily. I didn't have the heart to watch the commotion anymore, so I turned back to my room. The next morning, my aunt didn't care about his objection and took him to the police station. I went to school by myself. Song Yangyu still didn't come. During the second class, the teacher suddenly called me to the police station. I was completely confused. Wasn't it Li Jiarui who got into a fight? What does that have to do with me? But when you're under someone else's roof, you have to bend, so I eventually took half a day off to go. As soon as I entered the police station, I was met with my aunt scolding. "You said he's not decent." "But it's my fault. You're young, yet you let other boys fight for you. Look at how badly Jiarui got hurt." My heart skipped a beat. Look up. On the corridor bench sat Yen Sini and Song Yangyu, whom I hadn't seen for several days. I immediately understood what was going on. It was probably the two of them plotting how to take revenge on me, and Song Yangyu overheard. "I was bound to get beaten up. It's got nothing to do with me," I coldly replied. Auntie was furious. "What did you say?" I turned to leave. She grabbed me by the arm. "You little slut, thinking you can get away with this, you think you have any face at all." I said it's none of my business. A sharp sound of pap, my cheek turned to the side, burning with pain. After several seconds of silence, Song Young-yu suddenly rushed forward, but he was stopped by several police officers on the way. He pointed at his aunt and shouted loudly, "Try to touch her again." His aunt shuddered. She replied nervously, "I'm scared of you." At that moment, Yen Sinny and Song Young-yu's parents arrived. The one who claimed Song Young-yu was a young and elegant woman. During the mediation, the aunt-in-law looked very angry. "My son was mysteriously beaten by your son, leaving him injured. Just now he even wanted to hit me. 10,000 yuan, not a single cent less, otherwise we will sue." The woman smiled and took out a stack of money from her bag. "Here is 10,000 yuan, also, I am the secretary of Yang-yu's father. His parents are busy and can't come here." Unexpectedly, the other party was so quick and generous. And the aunt-in-law was momentarily stunned, seeing her expression. It was likely that she had agreed to the settlement. Her snobbish and money-loving attitude really hasn't changed at all. Yang Sinny's father came up and beat her, and it took several police officers to stop him. He cursed and insulted her, speaking extremely harshly, and I finally understood why this girl, so young, only knows how to use force. I couldn't stay any longer, so I made an excuse and left the police station. I hadn't gone far when Song Young-yu caught up with me. "Sun Yen," I pretended not to hear, until he grabbed my hand. I shook it off with disgust. "Can't you keep your distance from me?" "I'm sorry, they've been planning to retaliate against you these days. I've been following you every day, and I couldn't help but, can't you stay out of my business?" I couldn't take it anymore, and let out all my frustration. "Do you have to solve everything with force? Do you feel itchy if you don't use your hands and feet now?" "What did you just say?" He suddenly interrupted me. "You're right, I have hands and feet. Nyen Nyen, did you come back with me?" He stepped closer. I backed up against the wall. "Did you come back with me?" "Right." 9. He gradually approached, close enough that I could feel his hot breath. At that moment, he was full of vigor, his youthful and fair face showing no signs of the thinness and decline he would have 8 years later. His eyes were clear and bright, reflecting my young appearance. I suddenly came to my senses and pushed him away. "Are you sick?" He looked like a child who had done something wrong, standing in confusion for a moment, then hurriedly took out a stack of letters from his bag and pushed them into my arms. "Nyen Nyen, I know you're angry with me. I'm sorry. This time, let me write you a love letter." "Okay." Neatly folded envelopes, each one written with "To Sun Yen." Suddenly, I seemed to see myself from the past, writing to Song Young-yu with careful strokes. It was a scene I had never dared to dream of. Now that I'm here, I can only smile bitterly. Late feelings are worth less than grass. I held the stack of letters and threw them into the sky. The letters fluttered in the air, and I coldly looked at him. "I don't understand what you're saying. Don't do this meaningless thing anymore in the future. It's disgusting." This sentence should have been very hurtful. I clearly saw the light in his eyes, extinguished completely. I left without any hesitation. He didn't come after me again. That day, my aunt didn't scold me at all when I went back, probably because the price from Song Young-yu's parents was really satisfactory. She didn't want to waste words on me anymore. However, I didn't want to live in her house anymore. I told my mom I wanted more time to study, so I moved into the school dormitory, without external disturbances. I focused entirely on my studies and scored high in several mock exams. In my previous life, because of my infatuation, I studied hard, hoping to get closer to Song Young-yu in grades, but I always fell short. I never expected that, after a second chance, getting rid of my feelings for him, success became so easy. It's really ironic, because he was worried I wouldn't get used to it. Xiao Bingyan often came to the school to see me, bringing me snacks and gifts, encouraging me to prepare well for the college entrance exam. In fact, I have always known that he had a crush on me, but in my previous life, I was fully devoted to Song Young-yu and ignored his feelings for me. In this second life, I want to cherish every person who loves and cares for me, so every time he comes, I am very enthusiastic. Song Young-yu has seen it all. In recent days, he seems to be avoiding me. He moved his seat to the back row. He hasn't spoken to me in a while. I'm actually glad for the quiet. Only Tao Tao expressed regret. "You didn't respond," and Song Young-yu suffered a serious emotional wound. I secretly laughed. Where is this emotional wound? It's just that I kept rejecting him, and his pride was hurt. This way, we are like strangers, parting ways after graduation. Very enthusiastic. Song Young-yu has seen it all. In recent days, he seems to be avoiding me. He moved his seat to the back row. He hasn't spoken to me in a while. I'm actually glad for the quiet, only Tao Tao expressed regret, you didn't respond, and Song Yang suffered a serious emotional wound. I secretly laughed. Where is this emotional wound? It's just that I kept rejecting him, and his pride was hurt. This way, we are like strangers, parting ways after graduation, and probably never crossing paths again. But someone doesn't think that way. At the school sports meeting, the campus was open for half a day, and the playground was crowded with parents and students from other schools. I found it noisy, so I went back to the classroom to study. While writing the test, someone suddenly stopped in front of me. Sun Yin, right? I looked up. It was Guizairu. My fingers paused. Is there something? There were 2 other classmates in the classroom, and she lowered her voice. Can I trouble you to come out with me for a moment? I have something I want to talk to you about. I didn't move. You can say it here. She didn't expect me to refuse. Her expression changed for a moment, but she quickly recovered. Yang Yu has been having some conflicts with his family lately, and his state of mind isn't very good. He's been a bit rebellious. So what? She maintained a gentle smile. So what he said and did doesn't count. Don't take it to heart. If I didn't know her, I might have thought she was kind-hearted and came over to comfort me, but I know what kind of person she is. That gentle sentence was just reminding me that Song Yangyu's recent favors towards me were never from the heart. I let out a cold laugh. Does it matter if I act or not? While she was lost in thought, I turned to the classmate behind me and asked, what events does Song Yangyu have today? The classmate replied, he has a short run. I slowly got up. Guizairu nervously blocked my way. Are you going to watch? I said carelessly, guess. Then we passed by each other. There was someone disturbing me in the classroom, so I went back to the dormitory. I didn't expect Guizairu to keep following me. At the staircase, she suddenly grabbed me and said, can't you stay away from him? I gently curled my lips. It's obvious that he's still young. He can't even pretend anymore. Sorry, you should figure out that it's always him who approached me. That's impossible. He likes me. The lady completely lost her manners. It must be you who seduced him. Have you brainwashed him? I smiled. You two are so familiar. Why don't you ask him yourself? After saying that, I turned to leave. Guizairu didn't back down. You can't go see him. I frowned at her hand that wouldn't let go. I caught a familiar figure out of the corner of my eye. Guizairu obviously saw him too, and quickly let go, smiling brightly as she ran over and affectionately linked her arm with his. Yangyu, you're back. How was the match? He had been avoiding me these past few days, and upon seeing me, he quickly lowered his head to avoid eye contact. It hasn't started yet, he answered in a low voice. As he passed by me, Guizairu intentionally got very close to him. Let's go home together tonight. We haven't had dinner together for a long time. How about that Italian restaurant, also? She kept talking on and on. They walked further and further away. I suddenly spoke up, Song Yangyu. His figure stiffened, and instinctively he let go of Guizairu. Running back to me, Guizairu screamed his name, but he never turned back. At that moment, I suddenly understood what it meant to be unrestrained by love, except before that, the person had always been him. He stopped in front of me, asking almost carefully, what's wrong? I looked at him. This was the first time, after my rebirth, that I looked at him so seriously. The young him was truly good-looking. No wonder I fell for him at first sight. For a long time, I spoke slowly. Do you like me? He looked in disbelief, opened his mouth for a moment, then nodded firmly. Behind me, Guizairu burst into tears. Oh, so he does like me, but I will never feel happy again. 10. I didn't reject Song Yangyu's feelings on the spot. There was no other reason. I just wanted Guizairu to feel more painful for a while. But Song Yangyu seemed to have misunderstood. After that, he went back to his previous careful and friendly behavior. This pitiful and ridiculous appearance is probably exactly the same as I had in my previous life. Since it's near the college entrance exam, he didn't do anything outrageous, so I just turned a blind eye. An unexpected person came to find me at this time, under the guidance of the teacher. I met the mother of Song Yangyu in the office. This woman, who didn't have time to step in even when her son was fighting, came to find me at this time. In my previous life, I saw her twice in the mental hospital, and she was crazy then, completely different from her current elegant and noble appearance. She was sitting on the sofa sipping tea. When I came in, she gestured for me to sit, as if the school was her own home. It makes sense. I heard that since Song Yanyu transferred to the school, his family has donated a lot of money to the school. I didn't sit down. what's the matter that you came to find me? She gracefully put down the teacup and looked me up and down. I heard Yangyu is chasing you. Have you agreed? No, no one is the best. I was even thinking that if you two were together, I would give you some compensation to make you leave him. She was talking to herself, completely not thinking there was anything wrong with it. Her lofty attitude made me feel sick. Sorry to disappoint you, not everyone likes your son. And not everyone is willing to accept your so-called compensation. Please face reality. If there's nothing else, I'll go back to class. Her words left her face as pale as a sheet. I turned around and left. I don't know what Song Yangyu's mother did, but not long after that, he didn't come to school anymore. Tao Tao gossiped with me. I heard that Song Yangyu's family is preparing to send him abroad. And he's not even going to take the college entrance exam. I said oh indifferently. It's just right. I also plan to forget the past and start a new life. Anyway, from the beginning to the end, he didn't know I had come back. After he left, my time was filled with studying. Xiao Bingyan occasionally came to encourage me, seeing that I was under a lot of pressure. He took me out of the school secretly and we spent the night at the amusement park. When he sent me back to school, he took out a Doraemon doll from his pocket and rubbed his nose awkwardly. I remember you liked it. I bought it secretly at the amusement park just now. I stared at it in silence, and suddenly I was back on that rainy birthday day, standing in front of the window, looking at the beautiful Doraemon cake. After going around and around, I got my own Doraemon. I hugged it and said quietly, "Thank you." That night, I dreamed about my 26th birthday. It's just that this time, it's not Song Yangyu who is with me, but Xiao Bingyan holding a birthday cake. I stared into space for a long time after waking up. I think, the things I once lost are slowly coming back. After countless simulated exams, the college entrance examination came. Those 2 days were not long, and they passed by quickly in my memory. I performed beyond my usual level and got an extremely excellent result, and I was admitted to my ideal university. Mom was very happy and held a graduation banquet for me, inviting all my relatives. Among them were my uncle and aunt. Li Jiarui's grades were not good, and he didn't work hard either. In the end, he barely got into a poor university. Before the graduation banquet even started, Auntie's mother was constantly taking credit. Nian Nian's child has been living comfortably in our house. That's why she got good grades. Then she changed her tone. But she's so likable. A boy said Jia Rui bullied her, and our Jia Rui beat him up. This definitely affected her studies. Otherwise Jia Rui would have definitely done better. I watched her coldly as she performed. Auntie, Jia Rui's college entrance exam results were much better than his usual ones. I smiled. If that's the case, he shouldn't have even been able to go to college. Among the guests, her face turned ashen. You dare to say that Jia Rui's beating has nothing to do with you? Didn't you happily accept the 10,000 yuan compensation from them? She slammed the table. How dare you talk to your elder like that? Then she turned to my mother. Sister, you should discipline her. She's become completely unruly now. My mom changed the subject. Nian Nian, I didn't restrict her much since she was little. That's why she did so well. But you're Jia Rui, maybe you're being too strict, so don't always expect the child to be obedient. My mom gave a gentle but sharp reply, and my aunt's face became even more expressive. I had a very comfortable meal. After the graduation banquet, my mom called me over. I know you don't like your aunt. Don't talk about her behind her back, and give her some face. I smiled and replied, okay. Throughout the whole month of July, I was with Xiao Bingyan. Without Song Yangyu's world, I seemed to have lived a happy life I had longed for. 11. At the end of July, Xiao Bingyan held a birthday party for me by the sea. He invited my classmates and friends, and proposed to me at the party. I agreed. Just as we were about to kiss amidst the crowd's cheers, someone rushed out from the crowd and punched Xiao Bingyan. The crowd gasped. It was Song Yangyu, who had not been seen for a long time. What are you doing? I shouted, turning to protect Xiao Bingyan. He looked at me with red eyes. Nian Nian, why won't you give me some time? I will love you more than him. I will do better than him. It's okay that you don't recognize me. I will create new memories for us. You will definitely fall in love with me again. Nian Nian. Until this moment, he still firmly believed that I would fall in love with him again. I suddenly didn't want to act anymore. I turned to Xiao Bingyan. Wait for me a moment. Then pull Song Yangyu aside. There are too many people. It's hard to bring up those past life grievances. He thought I had changed my mind, and was overjoyed. Nian Nian, are you, Song Yangyu? I looked up at him. Don't do these meaningless things anymore. I won't like you again. He only understood half of it. So you did like me, right? in the past life. He opened his mouth, overjoyed. You really came back. I didn't respond. He suddenly grabbed my shoulder. Why did you leave me behind? You said you liked me, didn't you? Have you forgotten everything that happened between us? I calmly pushed his hand away. You might not know, on the day I died, my soul returned home. I saw Guaziru falsely accuse me, and you not only didn't defend me, but you also accepted her kiss, Song Yanyu. From that moment on, I no longer liked you. I hate you. His face turned pale. He frantically tried to explain. It's not what you saw. She suddenly came to me, and I didn't believe a single word she said. I just didn't want to waste my breath. Then what about her kiss? Was it also something you didn't want to avoid? Song Yanyu choked. Nian, believe me, from the beginning. My heart has only ever belonged to you. That was a ridiculous answer. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. When you had nothing in your previous life, I became the floating log that saved you. Even though I never wanted to confine you to my side with the name of love, you wanted me to stay by your side because of my love. In this life, you still act as you please, completely ignoring my feelings, forcing your so-called pursuit upon me, trying to make me like you again, Song Yanyu. You don't really love me. From the beginning, you've only ever loved yourself, the last sentence said. The waves crashed heavily on the beach. Song Yanyu's face was pale. He seemed to want to explain something, but was interrupted by Qiao Bingyan. Didn't finish talking yet. It was clearly jealousy. I smiled and replied, we're done. Oh, he said coldly, looking at Song Yanyu, and suddenly threw a punch. The latter staggered back and covered his face. Don't let me see you again. Qiao Bingyan stared at him fiercely. Did you hear that? My boyfriend doesn't want to see you anymore, I added. Song Yanyu looked at me in pain. The person looked like they had been drained of their soul. After a few seconds of stalemate, he lowered his head and left without a word. After this incident, the friends lost their interest. The party ended quickly, and everyone left one by one. What did you say to him? Qiao Bingyan asked in a relaxed manner. I knew. He was still jealous. I said that I already had a boyfriend and asked him not to bother my life anymore. He finally laughed. That's more like it. 12. After that day, I never saw Song Yanyu again. He seemed to have completely disappeared from my world. Only occasionally in the middle of the night, I would recall the minor details of our past interactions, and all of them proved that he never loved me as much as I had imagined. In my second year of university, I received a letter. The familiar handwriting on the envelope read for Sun Yen. I didn't open it and threw it directly into the trash can. Later, at my graduation ceremony, an unexpected person appeared. It was Guziru. It was already very hot at the end of June, but she was wearing a dark outfit. When she saw me, her first words were, I really hate you. I was a bit confused. Then she said, Song Yanyu is dead. My heart skipped a beat. She said she didn't understand why Song Yanyu had such deep feelings for me. To the point that after I left, he developed severe depression and spent the whole day sitting by the window. He became quiet and strange in his behavior. His comfortable family background led him to get involved in a world of luxury and excess. He drank alcohol, gambled, took drugs, and speed raced. He turned himself into a completely different Song Yanyu. A drunk driving incident. His car crashed down from the mountain road. The car was destroyed and he died on the spot. Fate wrote a similar plot. The difference is that in the previous life, the car accident took away his 2 legs, but in this life, it took his life directly. Guaziru spoke with red eyes. From the beginning to the end, my expression did not change at all. This was his own choice. I looked up, but he didn't. He clung to the past, forced himself into a dead end, fell into the abyss, and was doomed for eternity. He doesn't deserve my sympathy. After Guaziru left, my mom called. Nian, what are your plans after graduation? First, I'll start working. My mom smiled and said, then what about your brother Bingyan? A few days ago, Aunt Qiao asked if we should get engaged first. I walked out of the auditorium and said, I'm still young, no need to rush. You may not be in a hurry, but someone else is, afraid of not being able to bring his girlfriend home. I looked up and saw Qiao Bingyan waiting for me outside the auditorium, holding a bouquet of flowers. The sun was just right, and the breeze made the